Okay, so here we have the UR5e robot that was created by Universal Robots. This is basically a flexible robot that can be used for collaborative processes such as picking and placing. So we can see that it has 6 joints and 6 degrees of freedom. So let's see what these are. Okay, as we can see, here's the first joint, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, and the sixth one, right? So we're right now on the software called MuJoCo, and the software allows us to, simulate what this robot would do and the functions it could perform in real life. So let's see how this robot moves. So here we have our joints, the control panel where we can control where we want our where the position of the robot should be, and these are the actual joint values. Currently, since it's at its initial position, so it's all 0. So let's start with seeing what this first joint does. Okay, currently it's paused, so let's just click run, and here we can see as we increase the value, it rotates in an anti-clockwise direction. Now I see anti-clockwise according to the axis that it rotates about, right? So now we look at the second joint. As we increase it, it is sort of restricted because of obviously the flow, but as we reduce it, we can see it rotating in the in the clockwise direction about the axis of rotation, right? Now we're looking at third elbow. As we increase it, we see it again rotating in the anti-clockwise direction. Let's look at the wrist joint. We can see the wrist joint that's over here, and we rotate it positive, and here we can go negative in the opposite direction. Similarly, we have the second wrist joint and the last one, which is the end effector, or the end effector could be attached to this joint here. So now, just to make things a little easier, let's have a look at it with the axis, the frame axis, or the coordinate systems for each joint. Right, let's pause it and hit reload, reset. Here we go. Okay, let's give the body some frames. Here you can see this is the first coordinate system. Here we have the second coordinate system, the third one, the fourth one over here, it's hidden beneath this, the fifth one, and the sixth one. Okay, so now let's take a random point and analyze how the robot would move. So currently it's paused, so let's pick a certain point. See, let's go with 1.7. okay, 1.7. Let's go negative on this one, minus 1.13 for example. Again, here we have 0.346. See, how about 3.27? and 1.32, 1.19. Okay, let's keep in mind these values because we will reuse them since we're analyzing the robot movements at this point. Okay, now all we have to do is hit play and see where the robot moves. So I predict it would come somewhere here. Okay, and let's analyze each joint. So the shoulder, the first joint would move in an anti-clockwise direction about the axis of rotation. The second one would move in a clockwise direction about the axis of rotation. The third one would slightly move in an anti-clockwise direction since the value is really small. Again, this one would move quite the most significant amount of rotation. Similarly, the wrist 2 and wrist 3. So let's see how they move. Since this happened quite quickly, it was a little difficult to analyze them all together at the same time, but you can see at least the first joint moved in an anti-clockwise direction and the second one moved in a clockwise direction about the axis of rotation, right? The third one again in an anti-clockwise, and the fourth one and the fifth one I think might have been too fast for us to notice at the same time. So how about we take each joint one at a time and we can analyze it a little bit better. So let's hit reset, and now if we remember, the first joint was 1.7. Okay, and now we can hit run, and we can see that it moves in an anti-clockwise direction about the axis of rotation. Okay, we hit pause. Let's go to the next one, which was minus 1.13. Okay, now this should move in the clockwise direction. That means it's this way, about this axis, the axis of rotation. And there we go. It moved exactly in that direction. Let's hit pause, go to the third elbow joint, 0.34. This will move very slightly in the anti-clockwise direction. There we go, exactly about this axis, the green axis that you can see here, about that axis. Okay, let's go to wrist. Let's hit pause again, and the wrist position we chose was 3.27. So now we see this has significant rotation. Yeah. Okay, now just to make it easier to see, so this will be again in the anti-clockwise direction about this axis. There you see it move in the anti-clockwise direction. Let's go to the second last wrist joint. Here we have the point we had picked was 1.32. Okay, and we hit pause. Again, it is the anti-clockwise direction about this axis. You can see it rotating. And finally, this is our last joint. Let's hit pause, and it was 1.19. Okay, and if you let's zoom in, we can see this rotating about this axis. There you go, anti-clockwise about this axis. So this is basically what it would look like, what the robot does. However, it does it all at the same time, so it's a little difficult to analyze when you're looking at it as a whole. But shall we have another look at it without the axis, so we can see what it does all together. So let's reset. Let's take off the frames and let us run this again. So here we go, 1.17 minus 1.13, 0.346, 0.346, 3.27, 1.32, and 1.19. So now once we hit run, we can see this all these joints moving together at the same time. And there we have it. This is the position that we had chosen, and this is how the robot moves. Thank you.